to the great Tim O'Rourke for our weekly update, and from there, Kimberly's going to be at the helm, and I'll be joining in along the way. So, Tim, thank you, buddy.
And just a little housekeeping, Tim, before you get started, guys, we are live. And when I put this on speaker view on YouTube, it's going to pick up everybody that's unmuted. So make sure you mute yourself, or I'll mute you for you. But just mute yourself, and that's why. Okay, thanks.
Great. So kind of wanted to update everybody today on what's going on globally, because I think this is how, I mean, it really comes back to how we look at our world and how it impacts us. You know, Treasury rates, as you know, have been jacked up pretty high now. The 30-year mortgage is averaging right around 7%. Real estate market is still very soft because of lack of inventory and higher interest rates. So just imagine if you go out and get a mortgage for $500,000, the difference of it was 2 years ago versus today is an extra roughly $1,600 to $1,700 a month on $500,000. So it's a huge impact if you think about it on the cost of living. And then you've got all these other factors going on now. We've got some you know, obviously disruption going on in the Middle East with the Ukraine war, as well as OPEC Plus has announced today as an additional impact on the price of oils that they're going to keep these production cuts through the second quarter. I suspect they're going to keep them through the third quarter as well, because if you think about the amount of oil that is being produced on Saudi Arabia alone, I mean, keeping the price up is going to help them meet their budgets and produce less oil, but get about the same amount of money. So I don't think OPEC is going to go away anytime soon. And then you have you know, Iran now is said they're going to get even with Israel because of the attacks on their facilities, killed 7 people recently. So you have all this kind of disruption going on, that what we call geopolitical unrest, and that has its effect to us in so many different ways, because the markets, you know, something that I watch every day and I write a little piece about. I scan through about an hour and a half, 2 hours a day, just looking for information and data and try to give a small snippet of what's going on, and you can just feel this undertow of pressure on just the geopolitical side of this whole mess that we're involved in, because we're supporting Israel, or, you know, we're sending military equipment over to the Middle East as well to help, you know, basically defend Israel. And so we're kind of in the middle of this thing, and at the same time, we're the largest oil producing nation in the world. So there's a lot of implications going on here that plays back to, so when you put somebody in an IUL and you use an index, let's say you use an S&P index. As an example, the S&P is up 9.8% year to date. This is kind of a ballpark number. It could be 9.9, but right at around 10% year to date. And if you went out and tried to do individual stocks, you're going to find out there's a lot of them out there that are not doing well. You probably heard of the Magnificent Seven stocks. Tesla is one of those. It's down 33% year to date. So investing your own money is complicated. So when you create that floor, when you create that basic floor, and you put somebody in an index product that protects the downside, I mean, the thing you're doing to help people is just immeasurable, because most people don't understand. If you lose 50%, you got to double your money. You got to have 100% return just to get it back. So, and I'm trying to tie this all together so you all get a perspective of what's really going on globally, that inflation is not going away. We're going to see, I think we're going to see a correction, as I've been saying for some time now, in the markets, because they're not only overvalued, but I don't think they're priced correctly. I think individual stocks and equities today are not priced fairly because the amount of infusion of capital that the Federal Reserve has put into the market. So I just want you all aware kind of what's going on a global perspective of all this. And then, you know, on top of this, the payroll, you know, data's coming out from ADP looks pretty good overall, but the story that's not being told are the people that fall off of that 6 month kind of chart that don't have jobs and have to work a second job. A lot of those are being thrown into the numbers. So I think that's all skewed a little bit as well. And people are financially worse off than they were a couple years ago because of rising inflation and cost of a family. I mean, if anybody's gone to a sporting event like a baseball game or some kind of other sporting event or a concert, I mean, tickets are crazy out there, and what you spend on a family of four is pretty rough. So people are looking for opportunities, and that's why I keep talking about this. Is it's our duty to bring up what we do and how what we do for Middle America, because that's where the big market is. It's such a huge opportunity out there when you think about the number of people that we can influence in our daily lives, people we run into at a grocery store, at a gas station, people we meet out for lunch, somebody that they might know. You know, you really can't let any stone go unturned. That's one thing. I've been out with Jody a number of times for a lunch or a dinner or something, and I just marvel at him because he looks at everybody as an opportunity. I mean, look at everybody on this call today. I mean, you are all brought here by somebody, and so it really is your duty to go out and tell this story. And that's the whole trick here, is just going out, understanding what we do and how we do it. And what we do is build businesses for people. And that a lot of times start off as a secondary income, but it really is the primary income for many people down the road. How many people have been here 2, 3, 4, 5 years out there that started off that way? So I think it's real important for everybody to understand the global picture of what's going on, and also granularly bring it down to our level of how we can help people. So Jody, that's what I got for today. I hope that helps. Any questions? I'm glad to answer anything on the financial markets if anybody has any comments or questions.
No, I think that was fantastic, guys. And just so you'll understand, just for complete clarity, you know, wealth is made during turbulent times. Smooth waters do not make for success in the investing industry, and good investors can't wait for things to be turbulent. And if you're a recruiter, builder, and we are all builders, and a builder is a combination. I want to make sure you understand this. A builder is a combination of a producer and a recruiter in one thing. I might have said that before, but somehow other day I just clarified in my head that that's just what it is. A builder is a producer. At the same time, it is a recruiter, and that's what we are. And today we're flexing our production muscles, getting in and learning these things to create confidence for both sides. Okay. And there's turbulence in the world. That means people are unsettled. And when they're unsettled, they look for change. And that's why we got to seize the moment. We got to be the loudest voice and the clearest voice. So great job, Tim. Great information. And it should give all of you confidence. Also, as we move forward, I wanted to wish Carol Cheatham happy birthday. She's on here and she's one of our stalwarts, and we love her and appreciate her. And she's 29 now, and she's been that a couple of times, right? But she's awesome. So we love you, Carol. Happy birthday.
Nice.
Yeah, you bet. Great
Happy
to have you.
29.
That's right.
Thank you.
That's right.
Happy
But
birthday.
yeah, but
Thank you.
she's a great story, and she
birthday.
represents a great market, which we will talk about. You know, as we look on here, we got everybody from young Gen Zs to people that are in the senior market, everything in between, and we're going to own every market. So we're excited about that. So let's move forward. We got great fundamentals today. So Kimberly, if you lead our conversation, we're looking forward to it.
All right, I will do. Thank you. So good to see all of you today. Am I flipping back? Like, can y'all see me or just see Jody at the moment? Do you know? I'm
I
gonna
can see
mute
you.
you.
Can't see you.
Yeah,
And
we
by
can
the
see
way,
you.
why don't you start off by letting everybody know that your beautiful husband there has a great new background. Tell them what that means.
Well, let me take off this view and I'll let him tell them since he's there. And I'm going to confirm my speaking language is Spanish. I think that goes for everyone on here. So if you're reading it, you're going to read it in Spanish, right? And maybe they
Yes.
can convert my English to Spanish. But Zach, you want to take a second and tell them what your background means and what that looks like since we're on a product and conversation call?
Yeah, so we're making a lot of progress in the RIA world with what we're doing, working with Tim and Chad, and working directly with Paul Dietrich on building models so that we can get this thing off the ground. We've started opening several accounts, got several people that are working hard to get money into Roth IRAs and those kind of things before April 15th. So if that's something that you're trying to do, don't try to do it now, because I think we're really pushing the envelope based on the approval and account opening process. But we've got a lot of great things in the works, and you'll be getting some. You'll be getting some. It's asking what language I'm speaking, but you'll be getting some information about this. I know we'll have when we come up with RMD Academy and the meeting that we're having the day after that as well. We'll be able to give you a little more information. Right now, we're in a very soft launch phase, but if you do have clients that would like to have their money actively managed and would like to have some money in the market, you can reach out to myself at Zach, Z-A-C-K, at wealthformatsystem.com. And we can set up a scheduled time to meet with you and them to talk about what their goals are and what kind of account we're looking at using. So, but we'll have access to, like I said, some great models that are custom built and custom managed by Paul Dietrich, as well as other options too within inside the platform. So, but that's really no real big sweeping news yet, because we want to make sure that our infrastructure is in place to handle an influx of referrals. But if you have some people right now and you're on the call, or you have questions that you want to have a call about, how does it work? What does it mean? All that kind of stuff. Shoot me an email. Like I said, I'll type it into the chat here in just a second if I'm allowed to chat. I don't see a chat up here, but it's Zach, Z-A-C-K, at wealthformatsystem.com. And shoot me an email and we can schedule a Zoom to talk about it. But
and we'll schedule a Wednesday coming up soon to do our products and sales call for Wealth Format Systems, so we can talk about that process and what it looks like as well.
Yep.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. All right. So we have a lot of exciting things going on today, guys. And in the world of HGI, Jody told you a few, Tim talked about a few, Zach just told you a few pieces. And just know it's getting better every single day. When we talk to people now, a lot of times Zach and I will talk about HGI, and when we started in this business, not in this business, but with HGI 10 years ago now, it was like a dirt road. It was bumpy, it was dirty, there was not many pretty things about it. But now I'm just amazed every single day about how much we've grown and all the tools that we have access to and everything out there. So it just gets better and better and better every single day. So super excited about that. I wanted to go back to the basics today, and I want to talk to you guys about the difference between the financial needs analysis and the DIME, and then also how do I know what products to recommend and what products to talk about, and what we're actually looking for when we gather this information. Because it definitely is two different things. And then at the end, I'm going to unmute and go off of gallery view, and you guys can ask questions if you have any questions, so we can kind of have an interactive conversation. But ultimately, in my opinion, right, we'll preface it as in my opinion, the first conversation when you sit down with somebody to talk to them about whether they want life insurance or they want an annuity or debt management or whatever they're coming to you for, people say, hey, Kimberly, I need some life insurance. Can we talk? And I always say, yes, of course, absolutely. But I'd love to start with a bigger conversation, just kind of have a snapshot of where you are right now, so I can tell you what I would actually recommend for you and in your situation. It's very non-threatening. It's very casual. I always say it that way, regardless of what someone comes to me for. And then that first appointment is always the F&A. It's always the financial needs analysis. So I'm going to share my screen with you guys and just run through a real quick brief overview of what this looks like. And then afterwards, I would love to know if you're using it. We use this on our team with every single client that we meet with. And if I'm on the appointments and I'm the one taking this and I'm working, I see Mary Kay on here. I'm working with Mary Kay and her sister and Gail, right? Then as soon as this is over, which you'll get it today, I'm going to send an email with my financial needs analysis of the data that I gathered. It's also a very good process that if you're in training, you have your own printed and you take notes the same time I ask questions. And you'll notice through these conversations, I have one that I had the other day last week, and we sat down, we had this conversation, and she just started spouting everything, right? So that one looks a little crazy because I just had to write as she was talking, and I didn't want to say, well, stop talking, you're going out of order, right? I just wanted to kind of make those notes as we went along and make sure that that we go through and ask all of those questions that we should be asking. But anyway, so this is our financial needs analysis. You guys know it's in the back office. If you go on the left-hand side of your screen under resources and then marketing under the digital downloads, this printed form is here. You can do it by paper, or you can also type into it. It's fully typable as well. So however you choose to use this. But first things first, on the first page, it goes over the 6 steps of our financial plan that we go through with all of our clients. Step number 1 is increasing cash flow. And I would challenge you guys, if you don't know this off the top of your head, you need to memorize it. You need to set your own Zoom up and give it the presentation to yourself, look in a mirror, or whatever you have to do. But you should know these off the top of your head, because when people ask you what you do, you should be able to rattle off these 6 steps that you take everybody through. But we look at step number 1 is increasing cash flow. Most people's biggest problem isn't that they can't manage their money. It's that they don't make enough money, right? So we look at increasing their cash flow and other ways to do that through managing expenses and also earning additional income. We talk about debt management, consolidating debt, striving to eliminating debt, giving them the tips and tricks and just best practices to help them get out of debt quickly. We look at an emergency fund. Without an emergency fund, their credit card that we're trying to help them get out of is going to become their emergency fund, right? So we talk about that and talk about the importance of preparing for emergencies. And then step number 4 is proper protection. So that's protecting against loss of income, protecting your family's assets, protecting your health, right? Because now life insurance, you don't have to die to use it. And in reality, in my opinion, steps 1 through 4, those are the foundations of any financial plan. And if you don't have those pieces in order first, everything else can come crumbling down around you, right? So when you sit down with people to talk about, their money, they always want to skip to step 5, which is building wealth, right? They want the sexy financial concepts, and they want to understand how money works, and they want to make as much money in as shortest period of time without any risk as possible, right? It's kind of comical sometimes, but it's important to make sure that we have those first 4 areas in place, or at least a proper education about them. So when we start building wealth, we don't have an emergency and have to pull from our retirement asset instead of our emergency fund, or we have to pull from our retirement asset to pay off our debt because we can't pay our payments every month. All of those different things, right? And then finally, step 6 is preserving wealth. That's a will, a trust, financial and medical powers of attorney to make sure that your wishes are taken care of, whether you're here or you're incapacitated, and people just understand and know what you want to have happen with your money. If we do our job correctly on all of those 6 areas, we're going to help them in their entire financial life. Some people, it's just going to be a financial education and a small term policy because that's all they can afford, and it might be all they need. Other people, it can be in-depth financial planning, which gets exciting, right? So skipping to the second page, I want you to look at this, and I don't literally go through this step by step by step. So I don't say, okay, what's your name? What's your date of birth? What's your address? What's your phone number? I don't fill that out. Like I know if I'm meeting with Rosangela and Sergio, that I'm meeting with Rosangela and Sergio. So I might write Rosangela and Sergio, and then that's it. I can fill out the other later, right? But my very first conversation with my clients always is tell me about your goals. If you could wave a magic wand and tomorrow looked exactly like you want it to look like, what is that? And I'm just going to write down what they say here. Some people can talk for an hour on this section. Some people can't talk for 30 seconds on this section, but it's your job. And in my opinion, it's the most important part of this financial needs analysis is really to dive in deep and find out who they are, right? And if they can't figure that out because life is busy or life is in the way and you know they can't really dream anymore, then I say, well, who did you want to be before, before you, like when you grew up? Like what did you want to do when you grew up? Who'd you want to be before, you thought it wasn't possible? Like if you could go back to third grade you, like what were those dreams? And then you'll kind of see a smirk on their face and them kind of going through and reminding themselves, oh yeah, it isn't always that bad. And sometimes that's a process. I know we have things to address and we'll get to that, but also, from that perspective, let's talk about once we get all the basics out of the way, where are we going from here? And then it's just simple, simple questions. And remember, all of these they all start with tell us about, because we want this to be a conversation. We do not want this to be a data gathering, like, what's your name, what's your social, what's your email address, your phone number. We want this to be a conversation because in this appointment, that relationship and building that relationship is the most important piece. So tell us about your children. Are you planning for college for them? Is there any education funding? If so, add it here. Do you plan on having more kids? Obviously, that's an important question. Yes or no. Tell us about your properties. Do you own or do you rent your home? Right? That's an important first question. And then you can ask those questions that go along with those properties that if they own, how much you owe, what's it worth, what's your payment, are you overpaying it? And there's a section down here for notes that, a lot of times it's not going to give you don't have enough room to write everything down. So just write those notes or type it in or do whatever you need here. And then the next page starts with our liabilities. So tell us about your liabilities, right? Tell us about your credit cards. Tell us about your car loans. Tell us about your student loans. Tell us about your personal loans. Tell us about your taxes, like, right? Do you owe money to the government? Do you have tax liens? Do you have medical bills? Like, what do you owe so we can figure it out? And you also note over here on the right-hand side, it says minimum payment and current payment. A lot of people overpay credit cards. A lot of people overpay car loans, right? So if your minimum payment's $50, but you're actually paying $200, I want to know that. And I want to know that for every single credit card, because it just helps me in asking these questions. And then I'm going to go, obviously, to tell us about your assets. Tell us about your assets. So do you have a checking account and a savings account? Yes, of course, most people do, right? About how much you keep in there on average. I'm just going to ask those questions. Going from checking and savings, I'm going to say, tell me about your retirement accounts. Do you have a 401k at work? Yes, great. What's your monthly contribution? Does your employer match it? How much do you have in there? And then I'm going to ask those questions about old 401ks. Do you have an old 401k for a previous employer? And if you forget that question, it's literally down here at the bottom. I just highlighted it in blue to remind you. It also asks you, do you expect any lump sums or inheritances in the near future? That's an important question, right? So all of these are designed to just ask these questions. So if I had somebody and I said, tell me about checking savings, and I write that in there, right? Whatever they say, tell me about your current retirement accounts, 401ks, 403bs. Do you have anything like that? And then if they're not just telling me about other things that they have, I might say, is there anything else that you have, like stocks or mutual funds or anything like that? And if they say no, then obviously I move forward and just ask about, any old 401ks or, something that I haven't asked about. But if they say no, move forward. You don't have to literally go through every category, but you can go through every category with just a quick question, right? Like, do you have stocks or mutual funds or anything like that? And they'll answer that for you. And then finally, we get to our last page and it talks about life insurance. So, and this might not be enough sections. A lot of people have multiple life insurance policies. If they do, write it in the notes section, write it on the side of a piece of paper, whatever you have to do, just gather all the information. But it's designed to ask all of those questions. So, do you have life insurance? Yes or no first, right? And then tell me about it, right? Tell me about your life insurance. How much do you pay monthly? Is it a term policy or a permanent policy? If it's term, is it 20-year term? Did you write it 20 years ago? Like how close are we to the end of that? What's your death benefit? And is there cash value? Here in this section, it also asks about tobacco. So this is a great place where I could say, is there anything that I need to know, any medical issues or diagnoses that that I need to know about from a life insurance perspective? Do you smoke or vape? Just ask those questions there, and you can write it in your notes section. It also asks you if you have health insurance. So remember, we have health insurance now through HGI that we can offer. So ask that question. Do you have health insurance? Yes, great. Fill out the information. The more information you gather on this, the more opportunities you have to serve your client, but also, the better job you're doing on just asking all of those questions. And then you'll see right down here at the bottom, under the how much life insurance is needed, you've got your dime. You don't have to complete that right here, but this is the difference, if you will, between a full financial needs analysis and the dime. The dime is designed to take a very small snapshot of their current plan, right? Debt, income, mortgage, education. So what do you have in each of those areas? So I do that, honestly, I do that in between appointments, and I'll come back after my second appointment and I will use that dime, and we'll look at one in a minute, to present to them what their life insurance needs are based off the data that I gathered off the financial needs analysis. But we're going to go through and we're going to talk about salary, income, rental income. If you didn't ask it on the first page when they had, the rentals, is it here? Pension, child support, Social Security income, last year's tax refund. It's April, so if people haven't gotten tax refunds yet, they're getting them soon. And if they're getting $5,000, $7,000, $10,000, that's a great lump sum that you can use to fund their emergency fund, or to pay off some of their debt, or to use it as an investment if everything else is set up. And then finally, it's going to ask you here on this page, do you have a will? Do you have a trust? Yes or no? If the answer is no, like most people's are, then you have the opportunity to talk about net law on your next appointment. But if you do have a will and you have a trust, when was it last updated, right? What's the purpose of it? What do you want to do with it? And then finally, I think the most important questions on this form, other than creating that relationship in the beginning and talking about the goals, is, how do you want to live in retirement? What does it look like to you? If you were to retire today, how much money would you need coming in on a monthly basis? And I always say, assuming everything is exactly as it is today, to live like you want to live in retirement. And people are going to say, well, I mean, if my debt's paid off, right, and my house is paid off, then I only need $4,000 a month to live. Okay, forget all that. Let's assume it isn't. Let's assume today is the day you retire and it looks exactly like it does today. What is that? Because in reality, most people are going to have what they have today at retirement, right? If they haven't changed their spending habits before now, it's very unlikely that by retirement they will have either. But regardless, we want to know what that number is. And then when do you want to retire? People will laugh and say today, yesterday, or they might say 65 or whatever, but it gives you an idea of who they are as a person and what their goals are. And then finally, the last question is, aside from what you're currently doing, how much are you committed to set aside monthly to reach your goals and dreams? That is the most important final question on this form, because this is going to tell you how much they're committed to set aside on a monthly basis to reach their goals and dreams. If they say nothing, I'm broke, just say, okay, great. I just have to ask this question, put big zero there, right? If they say $5,000 a month, say, okay, great, awesome. And then finally, schedule your appointment before your next appointment. Always. If you schedule an appointment now and it's down there to remind you, like schedule your next appointment date and time. But if you schedule that appointment before you leave this appointment, it's more likely to happen. If you don't and you forget that step, then it's always going to be like, okay, well, we need to get back together. How's next week? How's next week? And it's going to be spring break, and then it's going to be the end of the school year, and life just gets busy, right? But if you schedule it right then when you're all together, it's definitely more likely to happen. So I'm going to stop this share. I know you guys have seen that before, but I wanted you to see it again. And I wanted you to understand that the purpose behind that is to ask all of the questions at one time, right? So then you can come back after the fact and give them all of the answers at one time, and then ultimately take those applications. If we just use the dime, because it's just a quick conversation and we want to know how much life insurance they need, that's fine. But we're also we're gonna miss out on some of the questions that the dime doesn't answer, right? It doesn't ask about their goals and dreams. What do you want to do, right? Why do you want life insurance? Do you have children? If you do have children, like, how much of their, like, what income do you want to protect? Like, what are we doing this for? What's the conversation about? And it also doesn't talk about any of their assets, right? So it might be a conversation that you have, and you might kind of have a general idea, but you don't have a form that says, hey, these are all their assets. This is what they have. This is what they have available. So I always like to take that financial needs analysis on that first appointment, walk through it, ask the questions. You guys know me. I like paper. So you can see mine literally right here. I've got two that I've taken in the last day or so. And I just print it and handwrite it in because it's much easier for me to write it as we go. But it also allows me to communicate with them. Most of my appointments are on Zoom. So it allows me to talk to them and just kind of write as they talk instead of typing into a computer screen while they're talking to me. Either way, it's yours. Do with what you want. Take your appointments as you want. But I would strongly recommend starting out with that full conversation. And then again, on that second appointment, I'm gonna use the dime in the back office to say, this is what it says that you need for life insurance, because you can take all of that information. You've got the debt information, you've got the income information, you've got the mortgage information, you know how many kids they have and if they've got education planning, and you can transfer that into the dime and use that as a presentation piece for that second appointment to talk about their need for life insurance. Before I go into my next section, my next conversation, do you guys have any questions about the F&A process or the dime or any of that? And if you do, I can't see you, so just unmute yourself and ask me. Okay. If you do, and I keep talking, you can just unmute yourself and ask me. But we also, and Jody and I were talking about this earlier today, you know, in the back office, we have under financial needs analysis, we have the ability to input the dime, but we also have the ability to put in a financial needs analysis, right? So it can print it out and we could use that for presentation on our second appointment as well. I know some of you guys love it. Some of you guys hate it. Right? It's just, people are different. We are working to make that digital F&A in the back office, right? That financial lifestyle strategy, I think is what it's called, match this form. So the questions that it asks and the order that it goes in is very similar. So if you do take it by paper and you want to go back and input it before your second appointment, you can do so. And we're also working on making some of those things not required. Like, I think if you've used it before, you know that the budget section back there is required. And I personally don't go over budgets with clients. That's their responsibility to do. So anyway, it's all being tweaked, like we said earlier, the tools and tips and tricks and just making it better and better and better every single day. And if there's something that you guys see that you know, a question that might have been missed on that financial needs analysis, or a different way that you're using it, or something, a tool that you think you need that you don't have, reach out to us. And we would, you know, we're always happy to help, and would love to create it if it makes sense for the entire field force. All right, so now I'm going to share a different presentation, and we're going to talk about what we're looking for when we put together financial plans. So step one, right? First appointment, relationship, conversation, and gathering that information. Second appointment is presenting that information, right? But in between those appointments is trying to figure out, what do I recommend to this client? What do I look for? Does anybody know, I tell you 2 things to look for when you're looking at somebody's financial needs analysis. Does anybody know what those 2 things are that I want you to just simply think about as you're going through this, when you're processing it in your head next time to give recommendations? Does anybody know what you're looking for on that financial needs analysis? If you do, unmute and tell me.
You're looking for the amount of money that they're currently saving towards their financial future, as well as any lump sum money that will be coming in the forthcoming future.
Correct. And to say that very simply, Charlene, you unmuted. Do you want to say it very simply?
No, I was just going to say that.
Oh, okay,
I was
perfect.
going to say the same thing.
Yeah, it is the same thing, but ultimately it's monthly money and lump sums, period, right? That's what we're looking for. Monthly money, just like James said, and lump sums, just like James said. So I have a presentation that is just a quick little visual that I think matters. And I remember our job as a company, as a trainer, as a recruiter, as an educator about money, is to keep it simple. So I hope that this demystifies some of the world of financial services for you guys, right? Because financial services can be overwhelming, and it can make your palms sweat, and you can get a little nervous when you talk about money. I hope that this demystifies the complexity of financial planning and financial services. It can be significantly more complex, but most of the time it isn't. So keep it simple. So which product do I present? First of all, when we're looking at somebody's financial needs analysis, just like James and Charlene said, we're looking for monthly money or lump sums, and we want to keep it simple. So, as we said before, the goal of an FNA, which stands for Financial Needs Analysis, is to gather all of the information to make an educated recommendation for your client's future. Simple, right? And by asking all of the questions, you not only help them more, you help yourself more. And when you're reviewing a financial needs analysis or recommendations, you are looking for, if you're not muted, mute yourself. I got you. Gotcha. You are looking for monthly money and lump sums. So when you're going through that, right, these are the questions to ask yourself. On monthly money, obviously, we talked about that final question, assuming all is the same. How much can you afford to set aside monthly to reach your goals and dreams is always your last question on your FNA. That's monthly money, right? Because that's money you can set aside monthly. You're also looking at reviewing all other data. So overpayments on credit cards. If you're overpaying for credit cards by $50 each, that's an extra $200 a month, right? That you have in your budget that potentially we could redirect. We might not, but it's still a monthly money thing that you look for. Are you overpaying your mortgage? Are you overpaying your credit, your car? A big one is, are you overfunding your 401k? Remember that match money is free money, and we all want people to take every penny of their free money. But after that, there's probably different choices and better choices. So if your company matches 3% and you're putting in 12, that allows you as an agent to look at that and say, wow, you have 9% of your money that isn't being matched. Maybe there's a better place for that, right? So make that mental note on monthly money. 9% is being overfunded in their 401k. this, adding all of that up, how much they can set aside monthly, overpayments on credit cards, mortgage, cars, and overfunding of their 401ks, adding all of that up, that's the total amount that your client can invest comfortably on a monthly basis, right? Without stretching, without doing anything different, that's the total amount they can set aside monthly that they feel comfortable with. Now it's your job to go back through those 6 areas, right? Increasing cash flow, debt management, emergency fund, proper protection, building wealth, and preserving wealth, and see where that money needs to be distributed. You don't want to invest all of it, because if they don't have an emergency fund, they need that too. But you don't want to just put it all in an emergency fund and not invest it, because then that'll never go forward either, right? So this happy medium and balancing act of what you're doing. Then the second thing that you're looking for as you're reviewing this financial needs analysis is lump sums. So lump sums, you're looking for old 401ks. There's a big conversation around old 401ks. A lot of times people forget about it. I don't know the answer to this, or if there is an answer to this, but Mary Kay and I were on a call yesterday, and they had gotten a notice from a company, and they're like, I don't think we have anything there. And I said, well, just make a phone call and ask. Who knows, right? Maybe you do, maybe you don't. But every single time you think that you have a piece of financial paper in your hands, call and ask what happened to it. They have a paper trail. They know what happened to it. I have a great story of a client. They're still our clients today. She actually works with us too. And when I sat down and did this for them years ago, there was an old 401k. I was like, well, and it was just paper. A lot of people just have tons of paper. And I was like, well, tell me about this. And they're like, oh, we cashed that out a long time ago. I was like, you did? I was like, where did it go? They're like, I don't really remember. I don't know. And I was like, well, let's just call anyway. Right? It might take us an extra 15 or 20 minutes, but let's just call anyway. So we get on the phone, we call this company, and they had $75,000 sitting there that, had I not made them make that phone call, they would have just shredded that piece of paper and not ever known that they had that money. So just make the phone calls. Look for that for those old 401ks, IRAs, retirement plans. But also lump sums can be, do they have large balances in their checking or savings account, right? Maybe they need to redirect some of it somewhere, or even inheritance now or in the future, tax refunds we just talked about. But all of those questions are on the FNA, because it all matters, and what you have the ability to offer and to recommend to them. So when we're looking at monthly money, where can we put it? What does it look like? So on monthly money, you need to think about life insurance, right? Whether it's a term policy, an IUL policy, a guaranteed universal life policy, whatever that is, monthly money can go into life insurance. It can go into IULs. It can go into monthly contributions to market accounts like B. Riley, if you've got enough to have the minimum deposits. Now through Wealth Format Systems, I should have your logo up here too, Zacho. But now through Wealth Format Systems, we're not at a $30,000 minimum. And I'll let him tell what we are at later on our, maybe on our, hey, this is what Format Systems call. But we can take those smaller accounts, and we can take those monthly contributions that we didn't have an option to take before. So you have all of those areas to put that into. The only place that I don't typically see, it is possible, but typically an annuity wouldn't be a monthly contribution piece. Sometimes it is, and sometimes people use it for that, but there's some questions to ask before you do monthly contributions to an annuity also. And some of them don't allow it. Some of them are single premium, meaning one-time deposit. So monthly money, you're looking at your product selection, you're saying, hey, these are some of my options. You guys know we have more life insurance companies and things like that in the back office, but these are the core. These are the top pieces at our fingertips. And then lump sum money. Where can that lump sum money go? Again, we have all of these options in our back office. You have CalChoice, right, which is our land banking piece. You've got indexed annuities through Athene or Annexus and Nationwide or North American or Corebridge or F&G. You've got actively managed money through B. Riley and Wealth Format Systems. So you have access to all of this for those lump sums. But when you're looking at these financial needs analysis, if you keep it simple in your head, it goes simple in their head, right? And you're like, all right, I have $50,000. Where should it go? Do they need money in the market? Do they need an annuity? If they don't need money in the market, then we can mark that off. If they don't need land banking, we can mark that off. All right, we need an annuity. What do we want it to do? We want it to guarantee income. All right, then we know probably the Nationwide and Nexus annuity is fantastic for that. And Athene has a fantastic income annuity. So now we know we're just looking at those two companies for that income annuity piece that they're looking for. So it's easier to dissect it down when you narrow down your choices. And then finally, we have other opportunities as well, right, through our company. So think wills and trusts, right? That's step 6 in every single financial plan. If you are not sending out your NetLaw link to your clients and putting that in that recommendation for step 6, you're missing out on a big opportunity. I can tell you that in the 21 years that Zach and I have been in this financial services business, I could probably tell you that unfortunately, 9 out of every 10 clients I have ever asked if they have a will, the answer is no. The answer is always 100% of the time, I know we need it. We've got to take care of it. We just haven't made time to go to an attorney and it's expensive. You can fix that problem with NetLaw and you can send that link every single time. And if all you do is send the link and make the recommendation and they don't go forward with it, at least you've done what you can do. Right. And given it to them at their fingertips in the comfort of their own home to complete. But we also have health insurance, right? Through Agent Pipeline. We have that now. Now we're asking those questions. So can you do better? Maybe, maybe not. But it's something that it's another opportunity for you to keep them as clients and also to serve them more and make more money for you as well. We have Medicare supplements. So if they are of the age to need Medicare supplements, everybody needs it, right? So figure out how to offer it. We have webinars on it, informational sessions all of the time. And finally, credit card processing through PayRock. I'll tell you, we have some clients. I have one lady that joined our team, and she hasn't been very active since she joined because life, honestly gets in the way. But she did go out and she sold one PayRock to one client, and that's all she's done from well, maybe she's done a little bit more than that. Give her some credit for that. But from what I see in my head, like every single month, she gets paid $150 on her PayRock swipes. Her recruiter gets paid $150 on her PayRock swipes, and we get paid like $70. Every single month, there's about $370 that goes through our organization just from one PayRock client. So I'm not telling you to go out and knock on the doors and ask for credit card processing because that is a cutthroat industry. But I am telling you that you meet with business clients every single day as part of your business, right? And when you do, ask that question just as an off opportunity. Hey, who does your credit card processing? I would love the opportunity to give you a review on that as well. And that's a referral piece of business. We work with this amazing company, and they're really great. And for most people, they promise that they can save them money on their credit card processing, or they'll pay $1,000 in Amazon gift cards. So worst case scenario, you keep $500, give your client $500, and you both make $500 in Amazon cards just to quote them on their credit card statements. But these are all opportunities to make more money inside this business. And the more products and services that you offer and you have for your clients, the more those clients are with you, and they're with you forever because you're now their guy, right? Or their girl. But you're their person, if you will. But I think it's important, like I said, I think that's the end of it. So I'll stop the share. I think it's important to think about all of those pieces and to keep it that simple. And I think when you do, and you look at all of those areas of opportunity per client, it's huge. It's unbelievable. And it's magic. And they want your help. They want your education. They want your relationship. They don't want 15 different financial advisors that they have to go talk to about each piece of their financial plan. They want one, right? Or they want a team that works together and is unified in one organization to help them with their plan. Oh, hi, Chrisabeth. So anyway, that's what I wanted to share with you guys today. I see Jody and Chrisabeth, so I'll let you speak for a minute, but I would also love to open it up and ask any questions. If you guys have anything that you want to talk about, now's your time. Now's your opportunity. So let's talk about that.
And by the way, as we have people coming on, I've had several texts say that this is the best training on this they've ever heard.
Oh,
So you
Thank you.
pitched a perfect game. So good job. It was fantastic.
Thank you.
Okay,
Yeah.
you did a great job. Hi, I'm Nicole. I'm fairly new, but I love your presentation as to what you did. But don't kick me in the butt. Initially, when you went into the back office, where did you go when it was those six categories to explain to a client? Can you show that to me again? Because I could do it on my other computer.
Yes, and I did not actually show it, so I'll show it to you now. So let me go here, just so we can all see it together. And I'm going to share my screen, and it's a great question. So if I share my screen, here's the back office. All right, everybody's looks the same, right? On the left-hand side of my screen, there's a tab that says
Resources.
it's actually marketing. I lied to y'all. It's actually
Marketing.
Click on marketing.
Okay.
Scroll down to flyers and brochures. Click on flyers and brochures. And on this flyers and brochures page, all you do is scroll down until you see it. And it's here. So if you click on that, it pulls up your PDF. You can save it to your desktop, so you always have it at your fingertips. And it's literally right there.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Absolutely. Thanks for asking, because that's important. And one of the things, Jody, that might make sense that we should probably do as well as we are working through this financial needs analysis in the dime, we should probably put the printed one here too.
I just thought the same thing. And by the way, stay right there, just so you guys will know, and this will be taught to you in the next couple of weeks. Once you've taken that data, now most people can just use that and come back with a presentation, but if you would like to, and you would like to have something printed out, there are some options. If you go here where she's showing you, where it says financial needs analysis, you can go put that same information in here and get then printed out for the client. And so she's right. We're going to combine those two there, because I'd like to have that form right there naturally. But that is there for you as we go forward. And we got some other really neat things. We're simplifying it, streamlining it, and also giving you another option.
And I want to remind you guys also, sorry to cut you off, Jody, that we are live streaming on YouTube. So all of this is recorded there. You can watch it again. You can share it with your new teammates. And it is at the @ HGI Team Legacy. And then when you go to that page, you'll have a choice of videos or live, I think is what it says. And obviously all of this is stored under the live tab. I'm sure that page will grow and transform, but right now everything's under the live page. Make sure you subscribe to it, because that matters to us, but it also matters to you, so you're notified anytime something new is posted.
And guys, as we go forward, this is the go-to session for somebody to go watch when they come on board. Either that or you're going to be teaching them. You choose, and I think the choice is obvious. So any other questions before we end for today?
When are we going to do some live cases? Because I know we talked about that.
James, whenever anybody turns them in.
Okay, I'll be the first to do it. I got cases right now, Kim.
Then you be the one turning them in, because what he's talking about is we have offered on here with you got the very best that know how to do this. If you send us cases, and just take the names off of it, obviously, but we'll come back and give you recommendations, and we'll use her, and we'll use Zach, we'll use Mauricio, we'll use Greg, people who are very good at this, just to give feedback on this. So thank you for asking that, James. Great question.
And
So
I
if
do
you-
want to say, when
yeah.
you turn those in, turn them in on the F&A form with everything that you know filled out, because if not, then we don't
Yeah.
have enough information.
So that is what we want to do every week, is to present a live case for at least 15 minutes of what we're doing, and then go on from there. I'm glad you asked that, James. Thanks. Anything else, guys? Thank all of you for being on. Great
Thank you,
call
Kimberly.
today.
That was awesome.
You're welcome.
And my daughter Melanie, I love you. I'm glad that you're on. She's learning. She's
Oh, I
here
haven't
learning the
seen her.
business herself too. So
Hi
she's
guys.
on.
Love you too, Dad.
Hey, Melanie.
Thank
Because
you,
it says
sweetheart.
iPhone. I didn't know you were
Good
there.
job, Kimberly.
Thank you,
Makes
Melanie.
sense to me.
She likes her some Kimberly Odie. They got a little fan club going, the two of them. But you guys are all great job. Don't forget, we do live bops, and I understand why we do live bops. I could easily and more efficiently put a video out. It is not the same. Man, we had a call last night. Torres lifted off his team last night. He had several people on. It was awesome. Every Tuesday night at 9, every Wednesday at 1:30, and every Thursday at 9, I with someone else helping me. And last night it was myself and James and Stephanie and Britchie. And then I was in Aki's office. I was taking the camera around and showing Saurabh and everybody else. So it was awesome. So get on those. It's all about growth. So hopefully you're excited enough from what you heard. Your confidence is through the roof and that you're going to go get people on that bop in 30 minutes. And by the way, sometimes you're more likely to get somebody on the bop in 30 minutes than you are giving them a day in advance. Seriously, they'll act on it like that. So thank you. Great day. And we'll follow back up. See you Thursday night for our training.